Want to be sure that your coaching client agreement is going to do what it needs to do when you need it to do it? You're in the right place. In this video, I'll walk you through exactly what to look for to be sure that your coaching client agreement will do all the heavy lifting for you if you have a client relationship go sideways. Before we get started, take a moment to check that you've subscribed. We cover topics just like this twice a week from right here in my office in Las Vegas. Before we get started, I want to tell you two semi-controversial things about your coaching client agreements. First of all, if you got your agreement from someone who gave you just that agreement, you'll really want to watch this video closely. You see, just like you wouldn't go to a professional exercise trainer to get one exercise, a lawyer or other qualified person should not be giving you a single document that stands to solve all of the problems that could potentially arise in a coaching business. If you just have one document, there is a good chance that it is not a quality document, and it's definitely not part of the whole system we need to protect your paycheck, your content, your reputation, your energy, your community, and more. So that's hot tip number one. The second thing is if you are using one document for any kind of coaching agreement that you're offering, I can tell you without even looking at it, there are definitely holes in that agreement. You see, the things that we care about preventing against or preparing for in a one-on-one relationship are very different from what we care about and where the risks are in, for example, group coaching, masterminds, in-person events or retreats, and courses. Each of those different types of programs requires a different agreement because we have different things that can go wrong, different considerations about what we care about protecting, and different information that we're going to want to have available in case of a dispute in those particular settings. So in this video, we're going to talk all about what you're looking for in a one-on-one coaching contract, but definitely make sure you're subscribed because we're going to do this for each and every type of contract, for each and every type of business model that a coach may be using. And as the cherry on top, this is why it is so important to not work with someone who's offering generic documents for coaches, course creators, consultants, online business owners, and entrepreneurs. I can barely say it because you can see that just like a coach has different considerations for each and every type of program they offer, certainly all of these different types of professionals have different considerations too. Now, we won't have time in this video to get into the four main things that you're always going to be looking for no matter what type of program you're putting out there, but luckily I have a training that's so good I couldn't even put it on YouTube called Meeting with My Lawyer. You'll find it in the link below this video or in the pinned comment. So be sure that you sign up for a convenient time to watch that. And without further ado, now let's talk about what you should be looking for in your one-on-one coaching agreement. All right, when it comes to your one-on-one coaching client agreement, there are about 6 things that we want to double check are included. Now, if you don't have a coaching client agreement, or after going through this list of 6, you're like, what I have is not working, don't fear. I have the Coach's Legal Starter Kit, which is a super affordable way to get the exact documents that I would give you if you came to my office and I did custom work for you, all geared towards protecting the things that we care about and preventing the things we don't want to happen in a one-on-one relationship. And that is available at your fingertips. So just look for the link to the Coach's Legal Starter Kit. But without further ado, let's get into what these are. Now, of course, any good contract is going to tell you what the person is getting in exchange for the price that they're paying. But if you stop there, all it is a receipt. And a receipt is not going to protect you later because I can assure you after a decade plus of dealing with coaching disputes, it's never about confusion about what the program involved and how much was to be paid for it. The devil is always in the details, and we want to make sure that we've thoughtfully considered those details in advance and how we want to address them in the contract itself. The big one when it comes to one-on-one relationships is rescheduling or clients falling off the map. So we never want you in a situation where years from now now you have to suddenly pick up coaching this client, even though you don't offer this package anymore, or you just don't want to. So the second thing you want to check for is that your contract has an end date by which your client has to use these calls. And after that, they are forfeited. Because you see, the client isn't just paying for your time on the call. Your client is paying you to make space available to provide coaching and show up well for them on the calls. And that requires infrastructure. It's not just the call. So when they're rescheduling or falling off the map, that really throws a wrench in the works of what type of other obligations you can take on and what kind of promises you can make to other clients. So we want to make sure that those type of things are contained, and we do that by putting kind of a drop dead date into your contract. Now, the corollary to that, and number 3 on our list, is that we also want to make sure that we're not guaranteeing that we will show up to a number of calls. And you may be thinking, wait a second, that sounds wrong, but hear me out. You see, you are making yourself available for, let's say, 12 calls in 12 weeks. But for reasons that are completely out of your control, your client may not also be available 12 times in 12 weeks. And that shouldn't be a reason that you're on the hook to either give money back or to keep coaching after the drop dead date. So instead, we want to adjust your language to let the client know that this package includes up to 12 calls in 12 weeks, and it is incumbent on them to be sure that those calls are scheduled within the period of time before the drop dead date. A subtle shift of language, but you can see that it sets a very different expectation and lets you have closure on that relationship at the end of the term. This is a huge deal because one-on-one does involve a lot of holding of other people's energy, and you have to make space for that in your life. In fact, it's the number one reason why you hear people saying that one-on-one doesn't scale. These energy drains and time sucks and open loops are a big contributing factor to that. So to avoid problems later and to allow you to sleep at night now, you want to make sure that these little finer points are in your one-on-one coaching client agreement. Next, we want to be sure that your agreement includes reference to your billing policy and your business policies. You see, we don't want these contracts to be huge because people just frankly won't read them, which doesn't help you. But we also want to make sure that in case of a dispute, the contract is clear that it lays out expectations and that there are other expectations around this business and this relationship that should be taken into account as well. Your billing policies are right in the name. It should explain what happens when somebody's card declines or they fail to keep up on their payment plans. Your business policies are very key in a one-on-one relationship. This is all about things like we don't handle emergencies, no after hours, don't be using my personal cell phone, don't hit me up on 5 different channels with an emergency. Instead, your business policies are very clear about the appropriate communication channels, when you can be communicated with, what the expected turnaround time is, which channels are appropriate for which types of communications, and all of those other related details that are going to be very specific to how you like to do business, and in particular, how you like to manage those one-on-one relationships. For those of you who offer content that goes along with the one-on-one relationship, so think courses or worksheets or things like that, your agreement should also specify exactly how your client can use that material, for what purpose, who they can share it with or can't, and for how long they'll have access. You see, most people infringe without realizing that they're doing something illegal. They think, I purchased this for one purpose and I can use it for any purpose. And so if you've been in the coaching industry for a long time, I'm sure you've experienced or heard people who have such a great experience in a program that they go out and start selling something very similar to it. We want your contract to be clear that if they get your materials, that is not an authorized use for your materials. Finally, we want to make sure that your refunds or lack of refunds policy is listed in your client agreement. Now, sometimes you cannot have a refunds policy, which means you need to like and subscribe because our next video is all about exactly when you cannot have a refunds policy. But I point this out to tell you that one way or another, you want to make sure that that is actually in your client agreement and not just on your order form. You see, we want everything that's important to be in the four corners of that agreement, or if it doesn't fit, like in the case of your business and billing policies, we want to make sure that those other extraneous items are at least referenced in the four corners. Now, this is a little bit more in depth than I would ordinarily go, but I also want to say this. Usually what's missing in your contract is what comes back to bite. And so I'll say, mega commercial settings, it is automatically presumed that if something's not in there, it was not in there on purpose. But in a smaller business setting, that's not always the case, especially when we're dealing with consumers who are not going to be as sophisticated and are less likely to be represented by their own lawyer. So it's not a requirement, but it definitely helps that if your contract lists specifically what's not included. Of course, we can't list everything under the sun, but we can use our judgment about where coaching relationships often go sideways, and we can be sure that those items are listed. When you buy the Coach's Legal Starter Pack from me, this is already laid out in your contract. But if you have a contract from somewhere else, you'll probably have to add this. You would want to include things like the fact that there are no after-hours emergencies. There's no support in between calls, if that's true. There are no done-for-you services included, that there are no specific written deliverables. So you can imagine that, especially with clients that want you to do extra heavy lifting or who want a little more than what they paid for, these are the types of things they're going to ask for. When they don't get them, they're going to be annoyed. Unhappy clients are more likely to cause payment drama, and most payment drama in the coaching industry happens in front of the credit card company. Make it easy for the credit card company to look directly at your contract and say, they're saying they're entitled to an exception from your refund policy because they didn't get this. But the contract specifically says they don't get that, so they should have known. No refund, case closed. All right, I hope this helped you see how exactly to look at your own coaching agreement to make sure it has everything you need, and if not, to get you in gear to get one that works for you. While you're waiting for videos to come out related to what you need to look for in your other types of coaching contracts, head to the link below this video to book your time to watch Meeting with My Lawyer. It's a pre-recorded training that's exactly what I would tell you if you were sitting across the desk from me here in my office, and it will show you the 4 things to look for no matter what type of coaching agreement that you are putting out into the world. All right, like and subscribe as always, and stay tuned because in the next video, we are going to talk all about refund policies and more specifically, when you have to give a refund.